Hey guys, thanks for checking out the channel again. My name's Greg if you're new here, and today I'm just going to go through and rank all of the Logic plugins that you get with Logic. So these are just the software instruments, and I've got them already set up in a tier list. So from S being the best, everything beneath that is getting progressively worse. So things that I would probably not use in my projects, and of course this is entirely based on my opinions. Anyway, here we go. The first one we have here is going to be Alchemy. I've used this quite a bit lately. I don't use it a ton, mostly use this for like pads, but I want to go ahead and give Alchemy kind of a B tier, and I might change these up as I go. But as we go through here, next one is Drum Kit Designer. I'm going to probably give this upward A tier just for Logic plugins. I'm a sucker for Native Instruments drum plugins. I don't know, it's not quite that tier. But for Drum Kit Designer, it has a lot of flexibility. It sounds very organic, so really natural. So that probably deserves an A tier. Drum Synth, I've played with this a little bit, just not a whole lot lately. But I'm gonna go ahead and kind of call this a C tier. Realistically, I haven't used it a whole lot, and I don't really think I probably will a ton. I like to do some challenges where I choose to, okay, this time moving forward, I'm gonna require myself to use this plugin 3 times in this track or something like that. EFM1, frequency modulation is really not a type of synthesis that I do a whole lot of. You know, it's really good for bells and keys sounds, but I'm just not a huge fan. So I'm gonna go ahead and probably just call it, let's go F tier. ESE, probably D tier. ESM, this one is going to be a monophonic synth. I've used this a little bit in the past, so I'll probably give it a C tier. This has really got some cool functionalities for like bass or any kind of mono type synth. I've liked that for a few projects. Back in my EDM or electronic phase, I was hitting this one pretty hard. All right, ESP, the polyphonic synth. I've used this plugin a few times, mostly just for like the noise generator or the noise oscillator that I can use kind of like as a noise sweep effect. Truly, I'd probably call it a C tier. All right, ES1, this is... I took a class a long time ago about all the plugins in Logic Pro, back in like Logic 9, early Logic Pro X days. And this one just really wasn't enjoyable for me. This would be like the massive or omnisphere of Logic Pro. I'm gonna go ahead and call ES2 an S tier. You know, just the functionality that ES2 has, it's hard to beat. Vocoder, or the Evoc 20. What can I say about this? I don't use it. I know it's probably really powerful if you wanted to do vocoding, but most of the stuff I do is just instrumental, a D tier. All right, Quick Sampler. I used to do a lot more of, you know, what I would consider like sampling, where I'd record like a couple of notes on the guitar and then splice it up. If I did do that now, I'd probably just use Contact. I know that Logic's probably got easier stuff to learn and use, but not a lot of my stuff requires sampling. So I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of give this, let's go C tier. Okay, Retro Synth. I'm gonna give this one a good one just because Retro Synth has got a lot of cool stuff you can do. If you're interested in analog sounding synthesis, Retro Synth is a pretty good one. Let's call that A tier. I use that one quite a bit, especially the presets right out of the box, really fantastic. Okay, the EXS24. This one was one of my favorites. It's actually just called Sampler now. But realistically, it was one of my favorite plugins to get in there and use because it's just the variety of sounds in it, and the library it came with is huge. So I'm just gonna keep that there. Okay, the next one is gonna be Sculpture. I don't use it. I know a lot of the presets built into Logic are kind of dialed in this plugin, but realistically, for Sculpture, I'm probably gonna give it, it's like in between D and F. I'll give it D. Okay, Session horns and session strings, or I guess my bad. Sorry, that's proprietary. Studio strings and studio horns. These two plugins, I'm gonna spend some more time playing with these because I feel like there's a lot of power behind these. But at the end of the day, not to make this too like evened out or anything, but I feel like strings I'm gonna put in the B tier and horns in the C tier. Ultra Beat, this one, if it's kind of a classic, Ultra Beat just hasn't changed a whole lot, and I don't think it really needs to. It's gonna be your drum machine plugin, so I'll give that S tier. You can do sampling, you can do synthesis in here, and it's got its own like beat making sequencer. That's a good one. All right, next one up is gonna be the organ plugin, B3. You know, I just don't use organs, so my bad. It's gonna go into probably F. Okay, clav. I've used the clav a little bit, but this one, you know, it's not the 70s anymore. I'm not into funk or anything that requires like a clav sound. So yeah, probably D tier. Okay, electric piano. This one, I don't know why Logic chose to use the electric piano as their default patch, but I like it. I'd say it's still a pretty good plugin, so I'm gonna give it, let's go B tier. And Mellotron, I've used this a lot. You know, it's just super duper simple. Haven't found a whole lot of other Mellotron plugins that I've wanted to use. Probably consider using this a lot more, but I'm gonna go ahead and give this one, okay, I'm gonna shuffle these around. Electric piano is going up to the A tier, Mellotron's going to B tier. That's gonna be my list. You know, not much happening right here, but I feel like at the end of the day, the plugins I'll use a lot more are gonna be toward the top of the list. And all things considered, if I had to use third-party plugins, I would probably end up using mostly for like drum samples or piano plugins. I would really like to see Logic or Apple in general just come out with a, kind of like how they did for studio strings, studio horns, some sort of piano plugin. I feel like pianos are just hard to replicate As the plugins come out and as Logic Pro evolves, a piano plugin dedicated to just high quality studio sounding pianos would be a huge improvement in Logic Pro's library. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you letting me rant for a few minutes here and there. Most of this is based off of instruments I've used a lot and instruments based on the styles of music that I like to do. But everyone's tastes are different. I'm pretty sure some other people would have different opinions, but let's start a conversation about this and we'll talk about it. Awesome. Thank you so much for hanging out, and we'll see you next time.